Hey there you guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to my channel if you guys are new. If you are new, hi, I'm Abigail. I make Christian videos every week to help you guys to speak truth in life into your guys' lives. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about something that I'm so excited to talk about, but I'm really not excited to talk about, and that is my boy crazy tendencies that I had. I hate that I had them, but I know that other people are going through some of these similar things, and I'm going to relate to you on some real levels here. Let me just tell you. So I'm gonna go into talking about some of my boy crazy tendencies that I used to have, things that I was doing that I did not realize played effect in my boy crazy tendencies, and how I use those boy crazy tendencies to glorify God in them, as well as just talking about what I've learned about marriage and about my boy crazy tendencies and about all of those things. So with that being said, let's just go ahead and jump right into it. So, my boy crazy tendencies, I really feel so awkward talking about this, let me tell you. I just know that I'm gonna have family that are gonna be watching this and they're gonna probably think it was really weird. The first thing when it came to being boy crazy is that I would constantly be thinking about the person. I was probably constantly talking about the person. I think my family can testify to that. I would believe that they were the one that God had for me. My sister can testify to this perfectly. She's heard probably all of the times where I've told her, like, I think God's calling me to marry this person. And we laugh at it now, but people that are believers do this. Which is why I mentioned it in my spoken word on singleness, is that we will change our feelings into God's voice. And so we would believe that God is calling us to marry somebody when maybe in the reality of it, he wasn't. And I think this also plays a part in me watching videos where people would say, like, talk about their future spouse and they'd be like, yeah, God called me to marry that person. And I'm not saying that never happens, but I took it a little bit to the extreme. I'd also change the things that I liked so that they would like me. This is, again, something that I see a lot of girls doing, and no, don't do that. And the next thing was that I changed who they were to match what I desired in a future spouse. This would basically mean what I would do is I basically would change who they were in my mind and not see them for who they were, if that makes sense. I used to do this a lot before high school, probably like my beginning of my freshman year, and prior to that I would do that all the time. I would literally just change who they were to the way I wanted them to be. When I noticed myself doing that, I ended up cutting that and really being firm, and I wrote down all the things that I wanted a future spouse, and I would just like really pray that God would let me see them for who they are, if that makes sense. Those are basically kind of all of the things that I would do. I would have never said this back then. I would have never realized I was boy crazy back then. People around me would have. My sister was one that she totally knew. There was 100%, she totally knew. I would get to a point where I would end up like asking the person if they liked me. And when I found out that they didn't, because none of the people that I ever liked me in return, I would become so heartbroken and thinking there was something wrong with me. And it's one of those things that I look back on and I'm like, no, don't think that. But at the same point in time, I know a lot of girls who do that to this day, and where if the person doesn't like them in return, they think that automatically there's something wrong with them, when that's not the truth at all. And I think that's the biggest thing, that sometimes it can turn into an idolatry and thinking if I'm not with them, then I won't be happy, when that's really not the truth. It's like in our minds we think that if this person and I ever get married, that will just make all of my problems disappear, when that's, again, not the truth. I think a lot of people, when they talk about crushes, they talk about like your elementary school, and you're just like, you have that guy that you really want to be friends with, and so they say that it's a crush that you like them. Honestly, I have seen other girls as well as myself experience it in a really very it's like as though you were dating the person and you broke up with them. And I've heard girls even use the words like, I broke up with. I think that a lot of girls go through that, and they think that because the person didn't like them, that there's something wrong with them and they feel completely heartbroken over it, like as though they were actually in a relationship with them. And I think a lot of girls experience that, so I don't want to dumb it down and like numb it out, that feeling of feeling like, okay, this person doesn't like me, and like that heartbroken feeling. Nobody really talks about when you find out that your crush doesn't like you back, especially for people that do have have boy crazy tendencies. The people that do think about it a lot, when you find out that the person that you like doesn't like you back, it's a hard thing to move on from. I remember getting to a place where I was just so sick and tired of having crushes on people. I wanted God to take them away. I remember praying so diligently and just saying, God, I don't want these feelings anymore. I want my eyes to be solely focused on you. So this next portion of this video, I had to talk about it because it was so crucial and so important to me, because it was something that really changed my life. And the reason why I didn't talk about this in the other clips was because I forgot to bring the book, because I didn't realize I was going to be filming that video. That video is very last minute. So yeah, but it is the book Crushed by Jessie Manassian. I could never thank her enough for how much this book had meant to me. I was in the middle of having a crush on somebody when I first had read this, and honestly, it tamed a lot of the feelings. It gave me so many different perspectives on marriage, on dating, on being single, on making sure that God is my everything. And she gives so many Bible verses, and there's discussion questions, and getting to know your father as well as getting to know who you are, and even like just seeing the position that God gave my dad in the relationships that I will have in the future, and how my dad is somebody that is going to protect me until the one comes where my dad ends up giving me away. Jessie gave so many different analogies and so many different things. It kind of came from like a perspective of like an older sister talking to a younger sister. And for me, not having an older sister to go to and things like that, this was one of those books that really changed so much for me. And so I really recommend you guys reading this book and checking out her website. I think it's called Life, Love, and God, I think. I'll make sure it's all linked in the description box, because it literally changed so, like it changed so much for me. View the things that I want in a future spouse and write them down to be able to know what it looks like to have a godly relationship without being in one, but to just have those boundaries set in place and things like that, so that when the right time comes, then I'll be ready. And also, it taught me a lot about how to deal with my feelings and deal with those desires that I might have, and how to handle crushes and all of those things. So I can't tell you guys enough. I could not talk about this enough on this video, but I also really don't want to spoil this book for you guys, because I do believe that this book will change a lot of perspectives. I can't thank Jessie enough for this book and for being able to share her heart into this. So you guys, please go check this out. Go support her. I'll leave her Instagram, her social media, her book, her website, all that kind of stuff in the description box, because I do believe that this book will really change a lot of perspectives. So yeah, that's that. So I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the things that were really destroying me and were really helping to enhance these boy crazy tendencies. I'm gonna list them out, and do not come for me, do not get upset with me. I do still do some of these things now, but I did have to take a break from them for a time. Christian romance novels. I could go on a whole rant with these. I love Christian romance novels. That is one of the things that I realized that really harmed how I viewed relationships and other guys. I remember reading those books, and my desire to be in a relationship skyrocketed. It went through the roof. As I've gotten older, I've learned how to read those books without getting into that funk, and I can make a whole video talking about that. But the second thing was Hallmark movies. Hallmark movies have a very romanticized way of relationships. I mean, come on, you guys know. I mean, if you guys watch Hallmark movies, you know that you see this very romanticized Hollywood view of love. Very false. So I took that out for a time. Any music that was country, that had anything that had to do with love, cut it out too. Those were the three things that I would take out, and I ended up just taking them out for the time being, just because I needed to get myself to a place where I was actually able to learn how to read those without having the intense boy crazy tendencies to come back. For the time being, if you know that you have those tendencies, if you see those tendencies in your life, just take the step for a month, for 2 months, to take a break from those. Trust me. Even if you're in a relationship, I feel like those movies and those books are very damaging to relationships because it's not a real relationship. It's a Hollywood relationship. And even in the Christian romance books, I mean, the Christian romance books really taught me a lot of different things that are real, but it also gave me a very fantasized view on being with somebody. Take those out for a time. Let me tell you, it will be worth it in the end. Some things that helped me with my boy crazy tendencies and what I would do with those boy crazy tendencies, because they'd come up from time to time. Here's some of the things that I started learning to implement into those. Is when it comes to your thoughts and you start thinking about wanting to be with a guy, or you have a crush on somebody and start thinking about them, the biggest thing that I think is the most powerful thing you can do is to be praying for that person. As soon as that person comes in your mind, pray for them. This is what I honestly do this with, like, any person that comes to mind at any point of my day. My mom taught me this. This is what my mom always says, and she told me about it, and I've started doing it too. If you have a dream about somebody, if you're thinking about somebody, start praying for that person. And when it comes to being boy crazy, I think this is even a better time to do it either way. Pray for that person and just continue to be praying for that person, because praying isn't going to harm them. You're inviting God into this feeling and desire that you might have for the other person. And that's something that I have done since then, since I realized, like, I was boy crazy. So since this time last year, and it's really helped with those tendencies. I want you to do something, you guys. If you have these boy crazy tendencies, let me tell you, these things are going to help. Write it down, ingrain it on your forehead, whatever it is. Tell yourself where you're at in your relationship with that person. Are you friends with that person? Are you actually boyfriend and girlfriend with that person? If you are not in a girlfriend-boyfriend position, stop romanticizing it. And I know it's hard to tell yourself don't think about this, but I want you to do, instead of telling yourself don't think about this, is replace that thought with where you guys are at in your relationship with that person right now. Remind yourself, tell yourself, hey, you are not in a relationship with that person. They might not like you in return. God loves you. You can pursue after the Father. And I think one of the biggest things that really one of the biggest things that really just changed my whole perspective is realizing that God's trying to pursue me. I see this a lot in a lot of girls. I've watched and I've seen and witnessed girls that are chasing after this love from somebody else, this desire to be with somebody else, these crushes and these feelings and all of these kinds of things. But the thing about it is like, it's like you're running this way, and God is right behind you trying to run towards you, and you're running the opposite way trying to look for love somewhere else. If you stop for just a second and turn around and look who's behind you, it's going to be God. God is right there with you and behind you trying to pursue after you. And I think that when I was able to grip that and realize that hey, God's trying to pursue after my heart, you kind of get the sense of freedom. Like, you don't need to chase after somebody else. You do not need to try to pursue after somebody else. If God wants that person to be in that position in your life, then He will do that. He will. If He wants you to be with Johnny Appleseed over there, then you'll be with Johnny Appleseed. I don't know of anybody named Johnny Appleseed. That's the only reason why I use that. When you remember that God is wanting to chase after your heart and is wanting to pursue you in such a special way, and wants and desires to be with you, His daughter, His child, it changes everything. It changes you to want to pursue God back, because God's more important than your crush. Ask yourself this. Do you idolize this person in your life? Is this person more important than God to you? And the thing about it is when I look back on some of those crushes, I would have probably told somebody else no, but in my heart and in my mind, it would have been a yes. If God's not number one, you're going to be looking and striving and trying to look for somebody to satisfy you who will never end up doing so. I don't care who you end up being with, your future spouse will never satisfy you. If you have a future spouse, they will never satisfy you ever, period. And it is so wrong of us as women to put that pressure onto those people thinking that they will end up satisfying us. Because when they don't end up satisfying us, we are going to be even more lost. And I want to tell you that Jesus is the only one who will ever satisfy every single need that you will ever need. He is the only one who will satisfy your needs. Not your boyfriend, not your crush, not even your future spouse. And that's the truth of it. The truth is that you will not be able to be satisfied by them. And so for us to keep chasing after these crushes, even if we think that they will satisfy us, they won't. Everything else in this world, in this life, will never satisfy us. Every single thing. Every single thing. Nothing will satisfy you. I know that that's something that's going to be hard for some of y'all to grip and to grapple onto, but nothing will ever satisfy. Once I realize that, and my prayer is that you guys will realize that, my prayer is that you guys will believe that and realize that, and put your hope into Jesus. My prayer is that you will begin to realize God's infinite, powerful love that he has to pursue you. This love that he had for you. That God loved you so much that he put himself on the tree to die for you, to save you. He died for you. Do you see that crush that you have loving you so much that they were willing to die for you? I don't think so. But yet God became man and suffered and was whipped and beaten to be put on a cross to save you from your sin. And yet, some of y'all, I think, there's gonna be people that are watching this that are still chasing after boys, that are still desiring so badly to be in a relationship with a boy, forgetting that Jesus loves them. And that right there is what makes me want to talk about singleness so much, what makes me want to write the spoken word that I wrote. My biggest desire for women is that they know how loved they are by God, and that they start seeking after him, because when they seek after him, they are seeking after love itself rather than looking for another lover, another human being, but rather they seek for love itself, because love itself will give you love, because he is love. Christ is God. Christ is God. Christ is love. He is the definition of love. God is love, and whoever does not know God does not know love. This God is trying to pursue you and trying to chase after your soul. And when you realize that, it transforms everything. It transforms that, like, marriage is not going to be the end goal for your life. Like, let me tell you this. One of the biggest things that I learned about marriage is that it's not going to be this romantic. I mean, yes, there is probably romance in it, because, you know, I'm not married, so I won't know. But at the same point in time, it's not something that we should be striving towards. It's not something that we should be living for. Because what if that never happens? Then if we're looking for marriage in every place that we go, we're looking for the wrong thing. We should be seeking after God and after his heart. I'm getting a little passionate here. My apologies. They are not your God. Or I guess I should say, are they your God? Do you idolize men? Do you desire so badly to be with God? I mean, not be with God, to be with another man that you forget about your Father? What I will say are the things that have helped me the most and that have impacted my life the most is remembering several things. Number one is that Jesus is number one in my life. We need to ask God to help us to follow his will instead of trying to plan out our own and saying, not my will, but your will be done. And that's one thing that I've been doing in the relationships that I've had. Well, not like those kind of relationships, but like just friendships that I've had with other boys, and if I end up getting married at some point, is that My relationship with God has to come first, and it will come first. And if it does not come first in the relationship that I may end up being in, I've asked God to remove that from me, because my relationship with Jesus is more important than a relationship with another being. If that's not important to you right now, then my prayer is that that will become important. If you desire that to be important, bring that to God. Say, God, I want this to be the most important thing in my life right now, but I have this idol that's in the way, and surrender that to Jesus. Number 2, when those people pop in your head, when those boys might pop in your head, which they will happen time to time, I've had it happen. When those people pop in your head, when those crushes come up, bring them before the Lord and say, God, I invite you into this time. Here's what I'm feeling. Here's what I might not want to be feeling. And pray for that person. Pray, dedicately spend time to praying for that person. Be praying that God would give you the clarity and the wisdom on how to deal with these feelings. I'm not here to give you cookie cutter answers. I'm here to give you what I've learned through my experience, and your guys' experience will be very different. That is my journey with boy craziness, you guys. With that being said, you guys can comment down below any questions that you guys might have about boy craziness. You guys can share your guys' experiences if you guys would like to. I would really love to film more videos talking about boy crazy and answering your guys' questions that you guys might have. Maybe you guys have a certain scenario that you guys would like me to film and talk about. But with that being said, I hope you guys all have a great week, and I'll see you guys all in my next video. Bye guys.